Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. As always, we have our Hog Hoops insider, Kevin McPherson, joining us now. And Kevin, we have a couple of basketball things to talk about, especially when it comes to recruiting. But I want to start off with this. How cool was it to see Bobby Portis and Dusty Hannas and Isaiah Joe? They were there in Arlington to watch that game. We won't talk about how ugly that game was, but at least they were there on the sidelines getting to hang out with Hunter Yurachek. How cool is it to see those pro Hogs there?
I thought it was great. I knew they were going to be there. I was bugging everybody for photos. I finally got one, but not about 15 minutes after I think the football program put out a photo of those guys on the sideline. But, Daniel Gafford was there as well. He was there. He wasn't in the photo off with those guys, but he was also at the game. He plays for the Mavericks there in Dallas. But I thought it was great. Again, the more you represent the brand, and, Arkansas basketball has been pretty strong historically, certainly has had a kind of a return to glory there in that 3-year run in the previous regime. And now John Calipari, the godfather of college basketball. But it always helps to see the players that help make your program great and continue to promote it. Now, unfortunately, the football team didn't win the game, but the support was there, especially from the Pro Hogs.
Hey, it was nice to see those guys there for the game for sure. All right, let's get into some recruiting talk now. We've talked about this guy a few times on the show already, but class of 2025's Malik Thomas. Now, we've talked about him in the aspect of, well, he had some visits scheduled for Arkansas, then they got postponed, but now he's set to come here this week, right? Hopefully that visit won't get postponed, right, Kevin?
Man, I think the third time needs to be the lucky charm or the charm, whatever you want to phrase it. Time to get on campus, and it's one of those. And I'm not going to get ugly about this, but at some point, you start to wonder: is it going to happen? Malik Thomas he's got that it factor. A top 10 rated 5-star in the 2025 class, 6'4" guard out of Pittsburgh, playing this season at overtime elite. We know current Hog that Cal brought over from Kentucky, Carter Knox, went through overtime elite. A lot of the top players now are going through that program and maintaining college eligibility. And you've seen overtime elite players now getting drafted very highly, some in the lottery in the last several drafts. So it's a good pathway. But when you have a top level guy like that who continues every all-star platform that he participates in, he's one of the top guys. And you understand why he's ranked top 10 in the country. But can do everything. As a 2 guard, in my opinion, he can do a little combo, play on the one somewhat. But Malik Thomas took a visit to UConn back in June, and it was thought the Arkansas visit was supposed to happen right after that, and then he postponed it. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to have to postpone this." He had the NBA draft around that time, Calipari off to New York, and it kind of got a lot of momentum with some of the national recruiting analysts. Hey, this guy's going to commit to UConn. That never happened. Now he has since taken visits again. He was on Alabama's campus, was supposed to be there this past weekend, and this is an Arkansas weekend coming up where the football team's finally hosting a ranked team and a quality SEC team. Only one home game in Fayetteville in the whole month of September, which we're about to turn the page here, and that was Alabama Birmingham. That was the second visit mid-September that Malik Thomas had scheduled to be on campus, and then that's been moved. I reported a while, actually confirmed it a few weeks ago. Hey, he's going to move it out to October 4th, 6th. I've been kind of hinting it might happen, then it did. Again, third time is the charm, question mark, is until he makes it to campus. One of those, believe it when you see it, but this guy, when I interviewed him back in May and saw him play in Kansas City on the Nike EYBL circuit, Courtney, I mentioned the it factor, but he loves Calipari. He's been recruited by Calipari for a while, going back to when Cal was at Kentucky. And you could see there was a genuine, admiration for him and his staff. Look, where this sits right now, is UConn fully out of the picture? I don't know. Alabama's definitely there because he just took a visit. I think Kansas State, one of the teams in his top 7, may end up getting a visit later on as well, maybe later in October. But he's a guy that wants to sign it, plans to sign during the early November period. And right now, I'd say Arkansas's got as good a shot as anybody at the top. And if they get him on campus, he makes that visit, I'm going to give the edge to John Calipari and that staff to add a second top 10 rated 5-star to book in with a lead guard. Darius A. Cup Jr., we know, committed way back, top 10 rated 5-star point guard back in July. You put those two together, you stop talking about who recruited the best backcourt out of the high school ranks of 2025. It's the Arkansas Razorbacks. That is the number one backcourt. Don't care what any other team patchworks together. That's it. But that's a lot of ifs. He's still got to get to campus, and then we see what happens after that.
Well, we'll see if he doesn't postpone this one. Like you said, third time's the charm, right? Just needed to get him on campus third time. Hopefully, this one is the time. And he picked a good weekend to come. I mean, like you said, the Arkansas Razorbacks have only had one home game here at Razorback Stadium. That was against UAB. And so now you have a ranked Tennessee team coming in who is a juggernaut right now in the
Yeah.
SEC. It's a night game, it's on ABC. I mean, the atmosphere should be really, really good for this game. So hopefully he does get on campus, gets to see that, gets to see everything. And I know Coach Cal was at that UAB game, and that was a big deal because he had there were some former Hogs on the sidelines
Yeah.
for that one. So that would have been cool for him to come and see that. But hey, that's all right. If he can come on campus this week, I think that'll be really, really good for the Razorbacks. Let's end it with this, Kevin. We haven't had much basketball to talk about because it's kind of that time where we're really just starting to ramp things up and get ready when we hit October. And I know that is next week. The countdown is on, right? The countdown is on, and that's officially when we can say basketball is coming back. It's close now. At the end of October, the Hogs, a big one. They're going to do a charity exhibition game against Kansas, and I
Yeah.
believe that game is already sold out, right, Kevin? I believe it's
It
already
is
sold out.
sold out. It
Oh
is
my
sold out. You know,
goodness.
basketball season here. Everybody's locked in on football. You had the start of full practices. It expanded to 20 hours per week. They went from 8 to 20 starting Monday of this past week. And so they've already got, full-time basketball now in the Performance Center. And then on the 9th, Wednesday of the week after next, Arkansas has its pro day. 30 NBA teams will be in the house. I have some really good sources who are NBA scouts. I can't wait to hear their assessments of these current Hogs. I think several are potential NBA draft picks in this next draft, 2025 in June. But let's talk about the season before all that happens. You've got 2 intra-squad scrimmages a few days after that midweek, the 9th for pro day, Saturday in Hot Springs, then the next day in Pine Bluff. What we used to call red-white intra-squad scrimmages, those will be played out. You mentioned that Kansas game. It is sold out, Courtney, October 25th. That's a Friday. The football team's on the road on Saturday playing at Mississippi State. So you'll have the state's eyes on that game Friday night. That place is going to be packed out. We were both there, I believe, last year
Yep.
for that Purdue exhibition game, and we know what that atmosphere was like. But now you're going to put in 2 blue blood coaches, Bill Self and John Calipari, and 2 programs like Kansas and Arkansas. They just met 2 years ago. The defending national champs, #1 seed, Arkansas knocked that team off to get to a Sweet 16. So, and there's some holdover. KJ Adams is one of the players that was on that team. We know Big Hunter Dickinson transferred from Michigan, one of the big NIL fun babies that's out there, is back for Kansas. This will be an interesting matchup. 2 very good teams, 2 teams that'll have lofty preseason national rankings. Can't wait to see some of those. And that'll be a game that can really help Arkansas. And then right after that, a week later, exactly 1 week later, Friday, November 1st, the final exhibition game. Breaking tradition, it's always been a D2 school.
Yeah.
Not this time. Arkansas's on the road, true road game at TCU, back in Dallas-Fort Worth. And I think what's interesting about that is that about 8 days later, Arkansas's second game of the regular season, they're back in Dallas for a neutral site game against Baylor, another team that's going to be ranked in one of those prime national ranking spots similar to Arkansas. So 3 Big 12 teams, 2 of those exhibition games, and then you cap off the first week of the regular season after hosting Lipscomb in the opener at home against Baylor at a neutral site in Dallas. This thing's about to jump off, Courtney. I mean, we said all that to say we're here. It's here. It's time to focus also on basketball. Eyes still on football, but you can have a wandering eye and have your heart with the basketball team as well. I think year 1 under Calipari is going to be something to behold. I really do. I think he's got a team that will do that on paper should do well in the regular season. I expect they will, and I think they've got the pieces, individual pieces, if they come together and the chemistry's right and they go through the right kind of growth, that can challenge for a run in the NCAA tournament and get out of that first weekend. Cal hasn't done that in a handful of years at Kentucky, but man, they continue to pretty much be good every year in the regular season. It's just now figuring things out at March. The roster's constructed for Arkansas to have success both regular season and postseason.
Absolutely. I completely 100% agree with you. And you're right. A lot of people are like, hey, I can't focus on basketball season just yet. I'm still locked in on football season. We're not saying you don't have to be locked in on football season. Just be excited
Right.
for what's to come right around the corner. I remember, when I was growing up with my dad, October, that was the month that we were like, okay, it's almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here. And so I just remember all the excitement that you can feel that excitement. There's a lot to be
Yeah.
excited for this upcoming season when it comes to Arkansas basketball. I'm just ready to lock in, be ready for it. Okay. I'm just like, it's going to be here before we know it, Kevin, and we are ready for it. Thank you so much for always joining us on the show, Kevin. We appreciate you. We're going to have much more Pig Trail when we come back after the break.